Hi, this is Kevin Deal. Today we're going to talk about the PrimaLuna EVO 400 preamp. People have been asking me to do a video on this for a long time, and I guess I should have done it, but I didn't want to do a full-blown one on it because I knew that there would be exciting news. And the exciting news is this. The Tone Audio reviewed the Evolution 400, and they were so impressed they gave it Preamplifier of the Year. But then, Herb Reichert at Stereophile magazine, he wrote a review on it, and they awarded it a Class A rating. That means the best without regard to cost. Then we just got on the cover of the Absolute Sound, Tube Magic. And Dick Olsher from the Absolute Sound, I mean, he was so complimentary when he basically said, I'm just going to read this to you. In a nutshell, it's an insane audio bargain that delivers pure tube magic. And he's not kidding by that. I gotta say something. I hope they don't mind if I say this, but both Herb and Dick have asked to keep these as their reference in their system. And that really warms my heart because I respect both of these people so much. They're part of the old guard, but not just that, they're both technically adept. I think most reviewers are terrific, but I love the reviewers that get into the nuts and bolts of stuff and really understand how things work, and that also can kind of call bullshit on things when they see it. Because there's some parts of this industry that have gone off the rails just a little bit, in my opinion. And I think the preamps are one of them. Well, okay, I'm going to say it, and someone's going to want to shoot me, okay? I think that with some manufacturers, preamps have really become a profit center. You know, it's like when you go to a restaurant. You order your meal, that's $7, and then you have your Diet Coke, and that's $3. For your $7, there's all kinds of stuff in there. There's all the food. For $3, it's caramel water and carbonated water and a cup. That's what preamps have become. What do I mean by that? You can take a smattering of parts and make an okay tube preamp and retail it for $1,500 and make a profit. It's being done now, right? But what companies have done is they take that $1,500 preamp and then they put it into a big box with nice metalwork. And then they come up with a story, whether it's this patented power supply. I read about that one. Oh my God. That power supply has to do with pre-charging capacitors. I read the patent on it, and it had nothing to do with a preamp because preamps run in Class A. You don't need to pre-charge capacitors. There's no dynamic changes, and that it's such a story. It's always some kind of a story. So they make these big stories and they put them into a big box. One manufacturer, I won't even say who they were, they literally had a glass panel on the front with mirrors on the inside so it looked like there was more tubes and more parts in the preamp. Talk about Oz and don't look behind the curtain. Give me a break, man. And that's what you need to do. Don't be fooled by Oz. Before you buy any preamp, you go to Google and type in the name and the model number. And then go to Google Images and look on the inside. There's no magic to this. And if they give you this baloney story about, oh, our products, this is the other baloney, our products are a minimalist design. Oh, a minimalist design? Yeah, well, we believe that more parts are bad. Well, first off, the right number of parts are what's good, right? You put more capacitors in the power supply, you're going to drop the noise for you. Use a bigger power. Don't give me that. And if beyond that, if you're putting fewer parts into it, why are you charging a premium for that? And this is what this one guy said, because I asked him that. I go, what are you charging more for? He goes, we don't talk about parts. We talk about making music. Oh, God, give me a break, man. Look, if you do the right thing and you use the right parts and the right engineering, it's going to make music. Look at this preamp. $8,000 preamps that weigh 15.3 pounds. This preamp it's under $5,000 and it weighs 52.9 pounds. You look at this other manufacturer or the best manufacturers and look at their really expensive preamps, the ones that sell for $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 on up, right? They're going to have a few things in common. First off, they're going to have tube rectification. Tube rectification is quieter. People don't understand that. The tubes are actually quieter. And they give you the glory of a tube preamp. Now, you don't want to have tube rectification in a power amp because in a power amp you can have voltage sag. But in a preamp, it's the way to go because it just gives it that glory and it's quieter, but companies don't want to use it. Solid state rectification is $2 in parts. Tube rectification, to do a tube and the socket and the resistors, and then a 5-volt winding up coming off a transformer. To do all of that stuff, it's probably going to cost them $30. Now, if they're charging you $8,000 for the preamp, you'd think that spending $30 on this wouldn't be such a big deal. But manufacturers don't do that. They don't fine-tune it to the nearest $30. They fine-tune it to the penny. But PrimaLuna has never done that. Also, something you want to look for, if you can get it, is point-to-point wiring. And the reason is this. I mean, look at history. The Marantz 7 preamp, right? Made in the 1960s. Look how much money they're worth today. And it's because they were made with point-to-point wiring. Point-to-point wiring lasts forever. It gives the preamp an intrinsic value, and it just flat out sounds better. But companies don't like to do it. It's a lot of labor, especially to do it right. And then if you could have everything in a preamp, if you could have everything, you'd want it to be dual mono. That is super rare. Why? Because everything's got to be doubled, literally. It's 2 preamps in one box. So you have to have 2 power supplies, 2 5A04 rectifier tubes, I mean 2 of everything. But it's the way to go because that's how you just get this wonderful stereo image and again, the sense of space. But companies don't like to do it. But you know something? Since day one, every PrimaLuna preamp that's been created from the very bottom all the way to the top has been dual mono, tube rectified, and point-to-point wiring. That's a big deal. Look at the EVO 100. For God's sake. So look at the EVO 200. That preamp is dual mono. It weighs 37.5 pounds. And it's well under $3,000. Look at the competitive product, which is printed circuit board and just a C-core transformer and not a lot of stuff, and it weighs 15 pounds for $8,000, right? That's what I'm talking about. So when you go from the 100 to the 200, you're going to get bigger transformers and a little bit different circuit design. When you go to and more inputs, goes up to 37.5 pounds. When you go up to the EVO 300, then it's all rules are thrown out the window. Go crazy with parts count. And the preamp goes up to 52.9 pounds. And then when you go up to the EVO 400, it's the same preamp as the EVO 300, but it has balanced connectivity. And that's what this is about. People were buying PrimaLuna preamps and using them with XLR adapters for years because they love the sound so much and they got pretty damn good results. But to do it the right way, you had to add transformers. And so this preamp was packed with so much stuff, it was going to be really difficult to do. But they did it. Look at the back. You've got 3 sets of RCA in and 2 sets of balanced in. And they're using these beautiful transformers that are in mu metal shields. Same thing with the output. You have a pair of RCA outs and then a pair of balanced outs, and home theater bypass. The output impedance on this preamp is 256 ohms. That is so low. This is the rule of thumb, you guys. Remember this. Hi-Fi 101, if you're trying to figure out if you can use a tube preamp with your power amp, you got to go with the 10 times rule. So look at the input impedance of your power amp. If it's 50,000 ohms, then the preamp needs to have an output impedance of less than 5,000 ohms. That's how it works. There's a few strange power amps that have relatively low input impedance. There are a handful of them, maybe about 5% of the ones that are produced today. But even those will work with an EVO 300 or 400. These will work with anything on the market. 256 ohms is super, super low. So let's look again inside. Dual mono. Look at these capacitors in the back, these black ones. In the past, and up here, in the past, PrimaLuna has been using Mundorfs, and Mundorfs are wonderful. But Herman wanted to do something better because Mundorfs can also be a little bit fragile. Tin foils are amazing to listen to, but he wanted to do the best thing he could. So on the new products, he found a factory in Europe that literally will not produce for any audio companies. They just don't, because this company makes capacitors for NASA and Boeing, and they make the best tin foils in the world. The best sounding after we did our listening test, but most important, the most dependable. And it was such a feat for him to do it, but he did. Over here, you've got big toroidal power transformers. Look, transformers are the single largest cost of making any preamp, right? And that's where manufacturers want to cheat. They're going to buy parts off the shelf. They're not going to use big transformers because they don't want to do it. And they don't want to use a toroid. Toroids cost 4 or 5 times more than a regular power transformer does, but toroids are the gold standard. They don't radiate EMI outside of the core. They look like a donut. They don't radiate outside of the core of the donut. But then what PrimaLuna did was they took this toroid and then they sealed it in a non-microphonic resin. Toroids already have low mechanical hum. They don't hum a lot, but to make sure that the hum is brought down to near nothing, they put it in this resin, and then they put it into a mu metal shield so it cannot radiate anything into this sensitive preamp. It's like they took a vacuum cleaner and sucked all the noise out. Now they did one more thing that's really cool. Don't forget there's 2 of those power transformers in here, right? Because it's dual mono. This is the AC offset killer. They invented it decades ago, and they were selling it as a separate part. Other companies have copied it from PrimaLuna, and they put it into products that are AC offset killers that are built into a cord or built into a box, and they'll sell them for anywhere from $400 to $1,000. But PrimaLuna builds it into the preamp for you because the devil's in the details, right? Don't think about getting a bigger amp to get better sound. That's not how you do it. You do it by dropping the noise. And speaking of noise, this preamp has only 10 dB of gain. That's textbook. If you take your digital, your D to A converter or your CD player or whatever, and plug it into your power amp without a preamp, it's going to play so loud it's going to blow you out of the room. So preamps are typically not adding any gain. They're attenuating gain. Yet some preamps are going to have 21, 23, 27 dB of gain. I've seen preamps that are in production today with 30 dB of gain. When you have that much gain, you got to do something with it. And what's typically going to happen is thermal noise and tube life problems. The tubes will start to fail, or how do I put it? You end up with noise and microphony, and all you got to do is take one of those products and type them into Google with the words tube noise, and you'll see all the people bitching and complaining about it. But you're not going to see PrimaLuna owners complaining about it because they've always been low gain designs. Now, speaking of tubes, this uses 612AU7s. The ones in the 4 center ones, those are going to be the most important tubes. Those are the gain tubes. Now, if you want to change the tonal balance of this preamp, look, the reason they use 12AU7s is because of how they sound, and that there's more 12AU7s being made today than any other part because it's such a good tube. Also, if you decide to go a little crazy and go into vintage tubes, there's more 12AU7s than any other part because historically it's been a great, great tube. The tubes on the outside edge are the cathode followers. They're less important. So if you want to have fun, change the tubes in the front center. If you like the effect, then change the ones flanking it. We have a video on the PrimaLuna website that breaks all that stuff down for you. Don't call us asking which one to use, because there's no right answer to it. I mean, people love to argue about that stuff endlessly. Just know this, that you can have a lot of fun with it. Let's look at the chassis. I mean, look at the cage with the glass panels, and it's 5 coats of hand-rubbed finish. Other companies, that the $8,000 preamp, it has a a chassis that's painted with a flat silver. And the reason is it covers up the grind marks in the metalwork. This is a gloss finish and it's dark, so it's going to show up any flaws. Manufacturers are not going to do this kind of work because that means you got to make the metal really nice. But they did that at PrimaLuna. And the new faceplate and the new remote control, I mean, they've got these new rounded edges. There's new feet. Rubber feet can have a tendency to adhere to wood, and there's no changing that, especially sorbethane will trash your furniture, right? So what PrimaLuna did is they put a little pad underneath the feet. And it's just that kind of thinking that's representative of Herman van den Dungen and the people at PrimaLuna, all the little details. Now let's talk a little bit more about this. Dropping noise. There's a controller board up in the front of this preamp, and it opens and closes relays in the back. Now, selector switches are not your friend. Think of your dad's TV set, or maybe it was your granddad's TV set, and they had to use tuner cleaner. They had to do this thing to prop the thing because it'd bleed over from channel 6 to channel 7. I mean, it was just a nightmare because those wipers, they don't turn off the other inputs completely. It's not good. So what PrimaLuna did was this. There's a controller board up in the front. It opens and closes precision relays in the back. Those relays are guaranteed for 50,000 openings and closings. They're hermetically sealed, and it reduces the signal path length. Instead of wires being traipsed across all this circuitry from a switch, the relays are in the back. The signal path is now about that long. So when you select auxiliary 1, boom, that relay closes. It gives you the shortest signal path. All the other relays are left open, so it acts as a gatekeeper to keep out noise. I've seen preamps that have selector switches and people that own them that live in San Francisco and New York, and they literally will pick up radio stations through unused inputs. Now, you can't get rid of all noise because things literally float through the air, but what we're trying to do is drop it as low as we can. TACMAN resistors, they're custom-made resistors made in Japan, literally made to order. The capacitors being so special, Swiss-made, silver-plated, oxygen-free copper in the signal path. I mean, and look at the volume control. It's so easy to use a chip nowadays, you know, because no one's going to know. You're not going to compare it when you go to a store. You're not going to be able to know that, oh man, this chip has a little bit of an electronic sheen. You'll never know. So that's why they do that, because they cost $2.50. This is an Alps Blue Velvet potentiometer made in Japan. That's about a $50 part. They don't want to use that kind of part, but PrimaLuna does. They want, and it tracks so beautifully, and they last such a long time. And then the new remote. Look at this remote. I mean, it's just, you know, the way that they trimmed it down just a little bit, but it's all machined aluminum. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I'm telling you something. This preamp is setting the world on fire. I mean, PrimaLuna now, I mean, if you spend any more than this, I mean, to some degree, you're doing it just because of ego. I shouldn't say that, though. I mean, because there are some really nice preamps out there, and I don't have a problem with people buying those. What I do have a problem with is manufacturers that sell inferior products to this and make you feel like it's better when it's not, and and they sell a product that's twice the price, and that you somehow are told that you cannot have world class without breaking the bank. You don't have to break the bank. I mean, you can buy something that, you know, this preamp will inspire you, but more important, it's going to last you a lifetime. Go to the PrimaLuna website, do your due diligence, get into tubes. It's going to change everything that you think you know about communicating with music. I promise that. Thanks for listening.